And hello, everyone. Welcome inside the NBC4i Digital Center, latest edition of the NBC4 Sports Extra. This is the post-game edition because we have got a football. I was about to say baseball, a football game to talk about here today. Penn State and Ohio State. The final score: Ohio State defeating Penn State 38-14. Your final in Week 10 as the Big Ten rolls around. We are awaiting post-game comments from Ohio Stadium. But before we do that, we bring in Coach Bill Conley to help break it all down for us. This was an interesting game in many ways, a 3-point game at the half because of an interesting mistake that happened, which we'll get into. But overall, Coach, these two teams usually produce really close games, and I think Ohio State fans are really grateful that did not happen this time around.
Yeah, I got a little scary right before the end of the first half. We gave them one, and that's something you can't do, Dave, when you're playing a team you should beat, is you can't give them a short field, and we did exactly that. We fumbled the ball, and they could aim for a touchdown. It looked close. But hats off to Ohio State coaching staff. What a job they do of making adjustments. They come out the second half and completely dominate Penn State.
Yeah, so much to break down in this. We're taking a live look now inside the press conference room at Ohio Stadium. So when we see Ryan Day or one of the Buckeye players take the podium, we will take you there as soon as that happens. But there's so much to talk about from this game. Let's talk about the offense in general. It is very clear now that the passing game is the Buckeyes' strength going into November, and boy, did they deliver so many big plays in this game, Coach.
Yeah, that was the thing that really stood out to me. Well, first of all, Julian saying again, he has a great day passing. I mean, those were all kinds of yards. And you know what? The receivers, like you said, David, I think was really impressive was 2 big passes over 50 yards, and we had, guess what, our big run over 50 yards too.
Wild.
So offense just exploded. And the thing that impressed me was the second half especially. It's how many times we got the ball and just took it right down the field and just a handful of plays to score.
We're going to talk a lot about the run game in a bit, but let's take a look at Julian Saint's stats from this game. 20 of 23. You do the math, that's an 87% completion rate. That's just absurd. 316 yards, 4 touchdowns from this guy. And, the accuracy is one thing. The big plays, though, are really what stuck out to me, especially in that second half. The way he's able to execute some of these big plays. I mean, there's also a little bit of luck, too, Coach. I mean, that Jeremiah Smith grab after a Penn State defender tipped the ball, that was just really impressive.
Yeah, it helps once in a while to get lucky, too, and have receivers that have that type of athletic ability and concentration. But Julian Saint is so cool in the pocket. I mean, he keeps the ball just long enough and gets rid of it when he has to, but he picks out the receivers and delivers a great passes. A couple times, I noticed he delivered it just a little early because it looked like the guy might end up getting covered. But he puts it right in there. Receivers make great plays.
You're watching NBC4 Sports Extra post-game coverage after Ohio State defeats Penn State by a final score of 38-14. A live look inside the press conference room at Ohio Stadium. We are awaiting Ryan Day and the Buckeyes to get to the podium, and once we have that post-game reaction, we will bring it to you. Talking more about this game, that fumble by C.J. Donaldson at the end of the first half could have been a huge turning point because it definitely gave Penn State momentum. I'm assuming one of the questions we're going to hear is what was said in the locker room at halftime. What do you think was said in there, Coach?
I'm sure that they got a pretty good mild scolding on not letting that happen again, but you can't put the ball on the ground, especially on your side of the 50. But also, I'll tell you what, the coaches, I think, had to make some adjustments to the Penn State running game because they did an outstanding job, I think, Penn State, early in the football game of coming out with some different formations, things we haven't seen, and they really got some good yardage on the perimeter of Ohio State. And their scheme they had was pretty good. It was getting some of their bigger linemen and tight ends out on our perimeter and getting blocks on our smaller guys. Pretty good game plan, but can't do that for 4 quarters against the Buckeyes.
Right. And the thing that struck me was how the Buckeyes were able to come out of the locker room and really respond. First off, props to C.J. Donaldson. I think it says a lot about him and his maturity. I think anyone would have had that kind of a mistake that happened to him in the first half, and you could have easily just kind of let it get to your head. But this guy was able to come back, score a 1-yard touchdown, and really give Ohio State the momentum it needed.
Yeah, that young man has confidence. Of course, he'd got some playing time at West Virginia and played well there, so he's been through the highs and the lows before. But really, the running backs, they're showing the ability now to get that extra yardage we're talking about. And Bo had another, game of over 100 yards. But they're getting better and better each game. And with the threat we have throwing the football, man, you have to defend the whole field if you're an opposing defense.
Correct. And, while we have a moment still waiting for Ryan Day and the Buckeyes to get to the podium inside the press conference room, let's take a look at some of the team notes from this win. Jeremiah Smith, as we've said, he's been phenomenal, but he seems to redefine that word every single week. 6 catches, 123 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Bo Jackson, 13 carries and 105 yards, including that big running play that we saw in the second half. Looks like we have a player coming to the podium right now, so let's go ahead and listen in.
5 questions right away for Jeremiah. Where's
Jeremiah
the microphone?
Smith at the podium right now.
Give it right over here to Bill Rabinowitz to the left.
Jeremiah, what's your comment on 2 things? One, Julian's performance, but also the touchdown on the tip ball. How did you react to that? What did you see on that play?
Yeah, I see ball, get ball. Defender tipped the ball. I didn't want Julian Sanders to throw an interception, so he couldn't grab a champion, so I just had to make a play.
Over here.
Yeah.
Over here to the right, Stefan Kreisnik.
Jeremiah, following up there on what you've been asked about Julian, Coach Day talked this week about Julian's mobility, maybe using it at times. Just what element do you think that can add to your offense? There was that one play, I think he escaped 2 or 3 sacks and was able to extend the drive.
Yeah. I feel like we're going to need that from him all throughout the rest of the year. The arm talent that he got, he going to be able to use his legs too as well. So, we're going to need that from him for sure.
Over to the left, Doug LeMaurice.
Jeremiah, I know it's not easy, but what are all the things that go into you guys being able to convert on those deep shots like you did multiple times today?
Yeah, when we get the chance to, in the right coverage, like Coach Day said, we take our shots, we got to hit them. We don't get too many of those. Today we got a lot of them, so we got to take advantage of them.
Was there anything in particular about the coverage that was allowing that to happen?
A lot of quarters to the field. Carnell ran the post wide open. I ran the inside 9 and made a big play.
Tim May.
Yeah, Jeremiah, it seems like it's Carnell Tate's turn one time and then your turn the next. How formidable a duo do you feel like you guys are right now, being able to?
Best in the country. Yeah. Nobody's better than us two. Even Brandon Ennis as well. Best receiver corps in the country as well. The whole receiver group, all got talent. We just go out there each and every weekend, put it all on the field.
And is Julian as good a deep thrower as you've been around? Just what's your take on Julian throwing it deep?
Yeah, he's probably the best I've been around for sure, the deep ball. Yeah.
Over to the left, Cameron Teague Robinson.
Jeremiah, you talk about the coverages you guys put, or the lack of deep shots you guys can take because people kind of cover you guys differently. Yeah. That deep ball you had, it looked like you beat 2 people. Just kind of walk me through that. And did you see the double coverage, or was it just something that you just kind of ran right by?
No, actually, they was in quarters. I guess the corner ain't know what they were supposed to be in, and I heard him, the safety said, so I knew the ball was going to me, and I just had to go make a play.
Great. Jeremiah, thank you very much.
Okay, so Jeremiah Smith made it over to the podium. And you know what, Coach? We got Ryan Day at the podium. That was pretty quick. Let's go back inside the press conference room. Ryan Day at the podium right now.
Ryan, how would you sum up today? Obviously, you take one play away from the first half, and it's about as dominant a performance as you could expect. What's your take?
Well, I think it's a great example for everybody that when you turn the ball over, especially down there, you put yourself at risk. All the work that gets put in, can be all for naught if we don't take care of the football. So it's a lesson learned. We came in at halftime. We were up by 3. You would have thought we were down by 21. But I thought we responded well, and that's the thing is when you come out in the second half, you have to learn from the first half, but you can't dwell on it. And so we knew how important that first drive was. We were aggressive. And I thought some of Julian's deep balls were just excellent in this game, and saw how they were playing us in the first half. Felt like we had a chance to get behind them, and so we called those plays, and Julian and the receivers did a great job. Jeremiah, Carnell, and then it was good to see, obviously, us finish the game with some runs. Got physical, so that was good as well. But the defense was excellent. Really stepped up. I know there was a couple third downs early on that were frustrating, but I thought Matt, changed it up a little bit, and then the guys played, really physical. Got to the quarterback, changed up the looks in the back end. So, very good team win.
Go over here to Steven and then to Austin.
Ryan, are you happy with what you got from your interior offensive line, both in the run game and pass protection today?
Man, I'll have to watch it all, but that is the good thing. We get to watch the iPad. I thought there was some plays that when you're playing against a team like Penn State who has a lot of talent, you're going to have some plays that aren't perfect. But I thought the strain to protect when you're pushing the ball down the field like we are, the first big play to Carnell, the one to Jeremiah, the other one to Carnell. I mean, those are probably 3.5 second plus plays. There's a lot of strain on those plays. So I thought that was well done. It was good to see us finish late in the game. I thought we really fit some runs up late and were physical late. That was good. Sometimes the run game takes a little time. So was it perfect? No, but I thought the guys played hard, and there was a lot of good play in there.
Go to Austin, then we're going to come over to the left to Rob Aller.
Ryan, I felt like there were a number of maybe some new wrinkles offensively. How much of that is now being 2 months into the season with that body of work, and is any part of it having some familiarity with the other coordinator?
Well, we wanted to change up the looks and the personnel groupings and just try not to be not predictable. I think that's probably something that for us, we try not to be predictable, but that's not really the right word to use. We just wanted to change up the groupings and just make the defense a little bit uncomfortable and not being able to anticipate maybe what they were getting, if that's the best way to put it. But we certainly weren't going to re-engineer our offense based on the team that we were going against. So I felt like we did that. We found ourselves in some different formations, and then we shifted and moved it around so that they couldn't really nail us down. And then we identified what the game plan was, and I thought we really attacked them in the second half.
Go over to the left to Rob and then to Pat Forty.
Yeah, Ryan, you got Haskins, Stroud, last year with Will, you've got Fields. You're just stacking talent at the quarterback position. How proud are you of the development of what's going on there? This was never QBU until you arrived, really.
Well, it comes down to everybody involved. I think it starts with Hart as the coordinator, then it goes down to Billy as the position coach, and everybody involved with it, and then it goes to Julian and the guys who play the position. And Julian's really getting more and more confidence every day. He works at it. I think the preparation that he puts in that quarterback room is starting to show. His mind works as quick as the ball comes out. He's obviously accurate. So I think one of the biggest plays of the game was the scramble he had. Would love to see him have two hands on the ball there, but that was a big scramble in that spot. You didn't know where the game was going, and that's what happens in those games. You fumble the ball in the first half, and it's a 3-point game at halftime. You don't get that first down. Who knows where the game goes? I mean, these are the turning points in the game that from following these games. And I know as years go on, you watch these games, you see those moments where the game could turn. And so I thought that was a big play. So he's growing in the run game as well, I think. But to answer your question, yeah, I believe that when you come as a position coach, it should be that position you. That's what I think. And I felt like that when I first got here, and it's great to see the quarterbacks continue to believe in what we're doing. I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't know what else is out there. I've watched them from afar. I think there's some really good quarterbacks across the country this year. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the conference, and so it'll be told when the season's over. I think it's easy to be it whenever week 8, week 9, week 10, and try to make proclamations on where guys are. I think we have to see what the season holds for us and the progress that's made, and then we go from there. And I think even when you look at the Heisman Trophy, it's sort of after the season's over, and there's still a whole bunch of football to be played afterwards. So I think that's unique, but that's the tradition. But I do think that if Julian continues to play the way that he's playing, he deserves to be in the conversation at the very least.
Go to Pat and then to Doug Lamarice.
Robbie stole my question there. But, all right, I'll ask you just about Julian's unflappable demeanor. And even on that scramble, he looked like he was unhurried about, reading and reacting to that. Just how much maybe that demeanor helps him be as good as he is.
Well, that's something that's very hard to teach. When you can feel the rush and not have your eyes on it, your eyes can be down the field, you can anticipate what's happening, and the ball comes out. And I'd like to tell you that we coach that, but we don't. He has that feel, and that's something that makes quarterback special. He has that trait.
Good. Pass that mic over to Doug. Thank you.
Ryan, you said it felt like you were down 21 at the half. Why did it feel that way? Did you want it to feel that way? I
just think that we felt like, we were playing well in certain areas, but it just, they got a couple first downs on us. We fumbled, they scored, and it was a little frustrating. And I think, we want to be in at halftime. In that moment, we wanted to be at least winning by 10, and then to turn around and only be up 3, it was like, you got to be kidding me. Because at that point, we felt like we were getting the ball to start the second half. We were going to be somewhat aggressive, but not reckless. We wanted to end with the ball or points, and for us to fumble in the first play, it was very frustrating. So that's really what led to that, probably.
Come over here to the right to Spencer.
Ryan, with what you were saying on Tuesday about this kind of being a little bit more like the NFL and coaching is a business anyway, but did you sense that your players had a little bit of extra motivation this week on the defensive side? And then can you kind of sense the way that they were feeling throughout this game about, who's not calling defensive plays for you anymore?
Honestly, no. I didn't feel any of that. Maybe, I guess, when the season started and when I was looking ahead, I thought maybe that would come into play, but it just didn't. I don't think any of our coaches or players were distracted by that.
Go over here to Dylan and then over to the right to Bill.
Ryan, when you talk about stacking bricks in a season and building that foundation, to come through a bye week like this, have a team that maybe was down record-wise, but you talked about all week, but still plenty talented, for them to take this serious and to perform like this, where does that rank in terms of like good signs for a team's culture building?
Well, we constantly talk about being consistent week in and week out. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. And I thought this was a good example of, really not testing the theory out, but seeing, where our team was in this area because, if you have a young team where, you play to your opponent, you obviously put yourself at risk. And so how do you perceive a team that's, lost a few games in a row, and going through some difficult times? Well, these guys still have a lot of NFL players on the team, and we knew it was going to be a challenge. So, again, it just went back to us and our preparation and how hard we play. And, for us, that was just the next team on the list that we have to execute against. And that's a tribute to the coaches and a tribute to the players for continuing to believe in that and keep pushing. And I still think we all know that we can get better in certain areas. We got to keep pushing. And so we have to master the routine, and that's getting rest tonight, come back tomorrow, address the issues, and then it's on to Purdue.
And last question to Bill in the front.
You said it felt like you were down 21 at halftime. What was your message to the team at that point?
Well, I said kind of what I tell you guys. You're either winning, losing, or you're tied at halftime. And we have to identify what went on in the first half and, say it all the time. All the work that gets put in, if we turn the ball over, your whole season can be ruined. So I don't want to just dwell on that one turnover. I feel like I'm talking about it a lot. But we just, won 38-14 against Penn State. So if you said that to me about 2 months ago, I don't think I'd be talking about one fumble that we had. But I'd rather be talking about. And by the way, when I said that about Julian saying, I also feel like Carnell and Jeremiah. Again, if there's 2 better wide receivers in the country, I'd like to see them. And they deserve to be up for a lot of awards too as we're getting towards the end of the season because it's not about individual recognition around here, but I know a lot of people. Support their players. I want to make sure that I'm supporting my guys because, they're great players. And then we also have a bunch of guys on defense doing the same thing. So, but this is not about individuals. It's about the team. And that's something that's been a mantra to our team all season long. And so the message at halftime, was that, if we take care of the football, we're going to win the game. if we turn the ball over some more, we're going to be in this game in the fourth quarter. So that was the first thing. The second thing was that, we needed to have a great drive to come out in the third quarter, and that great teams win in the second half. And that was really it. And I do want to say before we're done, again, how great the crowd was. I thought the crowd was in the stadium early. They were rocking early. They just, this season, I think Ross has done a great job with the game day atmosphere. And I feel like everybody understands when they have the ball how to be loud, and just they're playing off the players. And when the players need the crowd's there. It gives our guys energy. And I could feel it in the second half. And so I just want to thank the crowd, because at the Skull session, we say, the band's got to do their job, the fans got to do their job, and we got to do our job. And I thought, and everybody did today for a great win. So thank you. Yep.
Coach, thank you very much. We'll bring Julian to the front, and then Caleb Downs looks like he's headed to the back there. And then we will start here in the, where is the microphone? Microphone anywhere. Yeah, front row, Joey Kaufman, go ahead.
Julian, on those deep balls to Jeremiah and Carnell, what went into those? Were you able to have a day where you complete 3 balls over 40-plus yards?
Yeah, a lot of practice going into the week. We practice those a lot, and I think Coach Hartline and Coach Fessler and Coach Day, we do a great job of, preaching that in practice, and then they make great adjustments, and we're able to bring them in and ran great routes to get behind them, and we had a great scheme because, we were able to get a flat-footed safety and have Carnell and Jeremiah, run right by him.
Rob Aller?
Yeah, Julian, how much is the recent history of Ohio State and quarterbacks influence your decision to come here in terms of development, in terms of knowing whether it's a Fields or a Stroud? Did that play in at all?
Definitely. When you see guys like Justin Fields and C.J. Stroud throwing to guys like Garrett Wilson and Olave, when I was growing up watching it, it definitely influenced me because of, the quarterback development that's here with Coach Day, and then the receivers that we have here are able to just make plays whenever the ball's in the air.
Go over here to Steven and then to Ari.
Julian, can you, for starters, walk us through that 9-yard scramble you had, just like what you saw and what you were feeling in that moment? And then on top of that, how long did it take you to maybe get comfortable with the chaos that can sometimes be back there when you're operating the pocket?
Yeah, first thing, I got to keep 2 hands on the ball. I had one hand on the ball there. It was dangerous. But, they were playing a coverage where they were doubling Jeremiah and doubling Carnell. And we didn't have, a ton of man winners on that play. So, had to go make something happen and, keep my eyes up, see if we could pop open. But, ended up taking off. And then just in the back of my mind, thinking about the sticks and thinking about where we need to get to. And, if I have to go, not slide and go pick it up with my legs and go run through some contact for the first down, that's what we have to do to get the first down.
Go to Art. Oh.
Yeah, I think, as a quarterback, you always have to be, be willing to make plays with your legs if the play's not there, and, extend drives because, if we don't extend that drive, we get off the field there, and nobody's happy with 3 and out.
Go to Ari and then to Stefan.
Hey, Julian, I'm sure you were pretty busy this morning, but did you see what Nick Saban said about you this morning?
I did not. No, we had the early kick, so.
He called himself a dumbass for playing you on scout, and not that he would have had an option given the timeline, but what's it like to have national media, national people like Nick Saban, who's the greatest coach of all time, and now in this position with College Game Day, like recognizing the way you've been playing?
That's awesome. I appreciate the kind words, and but this is a team game, and the offensive line did a great job today. Receivers did a great job today, and none of it happens without us as an offense, as a collective.
Stefan?
Follow up a bit on what Coach Day was talking about, just with Carnell and JJ. He said they're the 2 best receivers in the country. I guess, do you agree with that? And what is it, or what did it do for you this offseason, getting ready to start and having those guys available, whether it be practice, whether it just be throw-in sessions, whatever it was, to kind of grow with them and develop with them?
100%. Those guys are the 2 best in the country, and they show it every Saturday. I see it in practice on Tuesdays and Wednesdays when they go make plays against the best defense in the country. So I think it shows up within our week, and then it shows up on Saturdays. And those guys do such a great job of putting in the hard work in the off season and being leaders within the team, and being leaders in the weight room. So I think it just all their hard work is showing up on Saturdays when they're able to make those great plays.
Go over here to the left to Bill and then to Jeff Gilbert.
Your completion percentage is over 80%, which is kind of an astounding number. Do you even look at your stats, and what do you think is responsible for that, other than, of course, great receivers and all the rest? But does that surprise you that you're at that level?
Yeah, it's really a team stat because of the way the offensive line has to block and the way that receivers have to catch the ball and can't have like a tip today, we had a tip, and Jeremiah, ends up catching that. So it's stuff like that where the receivers do a great job and the running backs do a great job in pass protection. And it's really just the offensive line giving me time to be able to go through my reads. So it's really a team stat.
What was different about the attitude coming out of halftime for you guys? Fast start.
Yeah, we were kind of disappointed with how the last drive went. We ended up turning the ball over. So coming out of halftime, we knew what we were doing, and we knew we could move the ball. So we were excited. We took a shot, I think, on the second play and hit it, and just keep the momentum going.
Go over here to Spencer.
Julian, you've been pretty calm and collected. Basically, every time you guys score, just kind of celebrate with your teammates, things like that. You saw like you were a little bit more animated after the touchdown pass to Bennett. What went into that, and what does it mean to get a guy like Bennett, or last time you guys played with Brandon, a touchdown when you can always get it to 17-4, but those guys also work pretty hard?
Yeah, I mean, a guy like Bennett, he's someone who does a lot of the dirty work for our offense and was able to, if we're running power and he kicks out a defensive end, to see him get in the end zone, it's a great job. And we practiced that play, and it rarely goes to him. And I think I hit it once in practice and was pretty fired up when we hit it. And my first touchdown pass ever in my career when I was a freshman was to Bennett. So it's awesome to see plays like that happen, and it's just had me fired up.
All right, we'll do two more. We'll go to Doug, and then over here to the right to Tim. Doug, go ahead.
Julian, just to double check from a football standpoint, could you just throw the ball 50 yards down the field on every play if you wanted to?
Definitely not. Definitely not. We definitely have to be strategic, and I think our coaches did a great job of when we're calling the shots. We got some good looks into it today, and if it's not there, we got to check the ball down. And when we check it down, our receivers do a great job of catching and knifing.
But do you kind of know that when the opportunity's there, like it's in the holster, it's ready when the opportunity presents itself with those deep shots?
Yes, definitely. We want to be aggressive. We don't want to be reckless, but we want to be aggressive. And if we get one-on-one with our receivers, we think we have a good chance of them making a play.
All right, we'll wrap it up with Tim May.
Yeah, does it hurt you deep down in your gut when you have to throw a ball away, which you haven't done very much? You understand what I'm saying? That was one of those shots, But and then number two, what's it like to have two guys like that capable of taking the top off of defense? It seems like at almost any moment.
Yeah, throwing the ball away. Still trying to improve, and I keep understanding staying on schedule, because that was a key point for us in this game, is stay on track and keep moving the sticks. And then number two, sorry, what'd you say? Taking the top off the defense. Yeah, Carnell and Jeremiah. I mean, they're able to get behind the defense and made some great catches. Carnell had the one touchdown, and then had the one coming out of halftime. So it's and then Jeremiah obviously with the deep one too. It's awesome to see because of how much practice we do throughout the week to practice those plays.
All right, Julian, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, folks, that's a wrap on postgame.
Jeremiah Smith, Julian Sayin, Ryan Day. That's who we heard from the Buckeyes after a 38-14 victory over Penn State. Again, really impressive, all things considered. Still a lot more to break down before we go here with Bill Conley. Coach, let's start with Julian Sayin, since we just heard from him. First off, that scramble play, I mean, Ryan Day brought it up too. I mean, he scrambled more than I scramble my eggs on a Sunday morning. I mean, that was a really impressive play. And it just shows, we talk a lot about the accuracy. We talk a lot about how he has great receivers, but it's really his quick thinking on his feet. That's been really impressive. The growth that you've seen from him, Coach, from week one till now, how impressive has that been?
Well, you know what, David? I think Coach Day indicated the answer to that, and that is he's an instinctive guy. I mean, as a quarterback, you don't always see the guys that's rushing you. You have to have a feel for that. And you also know you got a time clock in your head, and you got to know when you have to escape the pocket and scramble and find receivers open. And he does it with so much confidence, and he doesn't hurry the throw. He's only going to throw when he thinks he can complete it. Unless you're making a smart decision like he did one time to throw it away because there's nobody open and you don't want to give a sack to the other team. But when you don't have negative yards, you have a chance of being successful offensively.
He's so smart, so mature. And, you know, you look at the stats in front of us, 316 yards, 4 touchdowns, 87% completion rate. It's absurd. And Julian, after the game, saying, you know, it's really a team stat. And he gives credit to the receivers, obviously, who do a great job, the offensive line for blocking, the running backs for also doing a great job for pass protection. A really mature guy that also knows the right things to say, just as much as he knows what to do on the field. Let's talk a little bit about the run game, because it was an interesting kind of, you know, we've talked about this throughout the season. This run game has been frustrating at times because it hasn't been consistent, and yet we see these flashes of brilliance like Bo Jackson with that long run that led to that Jeremiah Smith touchdown. What has to happen with this run game? I get that, you know, the passing game has really been obviously the strength, and it's really been bailing out Ohio State at times when they can't run the ball. But at the same time, Coach, you're kind of frustrated with the fact you have talented running backs like Bo Jackson and CJ Donaldson. What do you think has to change over these next few weeks?
Well, I think teams have to make a decision that we're playing against. I would hate to be a defense trying to prepare against Ohio State because they're such a deep ball threat throwing the football. You've got to honor that. And let's face it, Penn State didn't honor it enough today because we had those deep balls. And so, you know, if you can take away the deep balls and you have pretty good coverage, that's when the running game really opens up. But to have a dual type of offense that can hurt opponents running and throwing the ball is going to, and we're getting better running the ball. You know, we got 14 more yards than what our average was today. So that's good. That's progress. And some big runs, which is progress. And we're hitting multiple guys in the game, so we have fresh running backs in the game. So I look for it to get better throughout the year. And of course, coming to a climax when you get this team up north.
Yeah. I want to take a moment to kind of look at Penn State for a second. 5th straight loss for the Nittany Lions. Also the 9th straight loss in the series against Ohio State. Still that one win back in 2016 when you look at the past 11 years of this series. But do want to kind of shout out, partly because he's from Central Ohio, starting quarterback Ethan Grunkmeyer. 19 for 28, 145 yards, 1 interception. You forget that this is a guy who was thrust into this starting quarterback role, still a young guy. And obviously today it meant a lot to him in different ways. Obviously didn't get the win. But Coach, just your thoughts on how he was able to handle the situation, all things considered. It was a special day for him to come back to Central Ohio and play. Just what do you see the potential in this guy?
Yeah, I tell you what, he can leave the stadium with his head held high. He gave a good representation of himself as a quarterback. And as you say, David, he had no idea he would be the starting quarterback against Ohio State just a few weeks ago. But he came in here, he had toughness. He stayed in the pocket, threw a couple good balls downfield. And the thing about it, though, when you got our defensive pressure, I mean, we really got after him. And we had 4 sacks, which was good, and we had 7 tackles for a loss, so we were getting penetration in the backfield. In terms of his throwing the football, I think he definitely is going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the conference by the time, he gets to be a junior, senior.
It's too bad that Ohio State and Penn State aren't playing the next 2 seasons. We'll have to wait until 2028 for these 2 teams to meet in the regular season. But hey, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe we'll see Ethan again there. A couple more for you, Coach, before we let you go. Let's talk about the defense for a little bit. A lot to talk about here. It was the first time all season long that Ohio State had allowed a first half touchdown, but it's kind of ironic because after, allowing 14 points in that opening half, they pitched a shutout in the second half. This defense was tested in a lot of ways. And I will say that, Grunkmeyer on that drive where, they came up with a lot of trickery, Penn State talked about before the game how, they've been working on a lot of different plays during the bye week to try to give themselves a chance. But this Ohio State defense, another solid one, but, we couldn't ask for a complete shutout throughout the entire season. Where do you think the Ohio State defense is now after getting a little bit tested early in this game?
Well, I guarantee you their goal each game is to pitch a shutout.
Yeah.
And we were close today, and the fumble where you can't blame on the defense there. But, and they seem like what I'm impressed with, David, is I think our defense, as the game goes on, our guys get hungrier and hungrier to get after that quarterback. A lot of times we wear down the offense with our physicality on defense. We're getting guys up front. And their subs are really getting great pressure on the opposing quarterbacks and really shut down the run. once we figured out their scheme.
You know, and as a fan, you couldn't help but kind of savor the mouth-watering storyline of Jim Knowles coming into his former program and going up against Matt Patricia, who's come up with the best defense in the country. I think we were enjoying what we were able to see out there on the field today. Last one for you, Coach. So here we are, Ohio State now 8-0. They extend their winning streak, the best active streak in the country, to 12 games. They've got a road test now against Purdue. The big picture is that, you know, if you keep going here, Indiana keeps going, we're going to get that clash in the Big Ten championship. Of course, you've got to take it one game at a time. How does Ohio State take this momentum against a Penn State team, a team that they treated as a top 5 opponent, moving forward into that road matchup at Purdue?
Well, if you want to win it all, David, you have to treat each team you play like that. You got to know and expect you're going to get their best shot. And, you know, you look at their talent that they have and the guys that can make plays on you if you're the defense, and you got to take them all out of the game. And that's what we have to do, because anybody on a given day can, you know, get a few plays and all of a sudden you're fighting for your life. And, you know, it's, you know, not the toughest schedule down the road, but UCLA isn't going to be a pushover and so forth. So we just got to continue to get better, and the concentration. That's why I think this coaching staff's done such a good job. They do a great job of letting the guys know that we cannot play down to our opponent, and we have to improve each week in every aspect of the game.
Yeah, and Ohio State continuing to improve. They took that mistake from the first half, let it go, and put it in the past, and they rebounded and pulled away in that second half to win 38-14. Next up for Ohio State, as we mentioned, is Purdue. Next up for Penn State. It doesn't get any easier. They've got number 2 Indiana next week. Bill Conley, we always appreciate the time. Thank you as always for your analysis, and that will do it for this edition of NBC4 Sports Extra, the post-game edition. Again, Ohio State winners over Penn State 38-14, your final. And for everyone here, I'm David DeGuzman. We will catch you next time on NBC4 Sports Extra.
Thanks for watching. For more NBC4, download the NBC4 streaming app. You'll get free 24/7 local programming streamed straight to your living room. Just search NBC4 Columbus on your Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Roku, or Samsung device.